And good morning. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Now also on 102.3, and you can find us on Truth Social, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook for a lot of the local shows. So we're a growing station. I look forward to my conversation today. I am joined by a friend, a patriot, somebody from down in Kings County, so absolutely a neighbor. Welcome, Jeff Mora.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Been a long time since, last night?
And I was happy that you asked me to come on. Yeah, I had the morning free. So, happy to fill in, happy to come on and talk to you about freedom and liberty and anything you need to hear from me about.
Well, I think you have an important story, and I think people understanding why people get involved. Why do you become a patriot? Because most people are sitting on the sidelines. I meet people all the time. They talk a good game, but then it doesn't move to action.
Keyboard warriors?
Yep. And you took it from just talking to all of a sudden, I'm in. What do I got to do? So what was that moment that pushed you that way?
I don't know if it was an actual moment more than like a gradual succession of things.
See, that's normal for most people. It wasn't for me.
It wasn't?
No. For me, it was after about 17 days of COVID tyranny. I was on Blackstone and Shaw going, this is BS, and I had signs.
Yes.
I was mostly standing alone, but I was like, I've had it.
Good for you.
So for me, it was a moment.
Good. Yeah, I was out there too on the corner of 12th and Lacey in Hanford there in Kings County. We organized a big rally too. A lot of small business owners came out at that point. It was more about keeping the businesses locked down. We were sick of it, Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing. But that was 2020. I think I got involved. I would say 2016, 2017 is when I started reading about the John Birch Society. And really went down some YouTube rabbit holes back when YouTube was good, which I'm surprised you're still on YouTube.
I barely tried, though. But I've managed to get the station, I'm proud to say, kicked off of YouTube a couple times.
Yeah, good for you. Okay, if you're not getting censored on YouTube, then what are you doing?
No, they kicked the whole station off.
Oh, whole station, not just your show.
Yeah. That takes skill.
Did Guillermo like that?
He laughed because he's got himself kicked off a few times too. So
good. That's good.
I don't stand alone on that.
Awesome. Well, it's good that you surround yourself with patriots around this radio station. That's what's great about KXEX.
Well, what I love about this station is we're kind of the Wild West of free speech.
Good.
The boss, if I started spouting liberal stuff, he'd be all over me. But if I'm actually in a polite way, because there's a list of words that you can't say on radio.
Sure.
But if in a polite way, I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
Again, he might say something, but he's not going to stop me from saying it.
Right.
He just might have a different opinion occasionally because I'm probably a little more grassroots than he is.
Isn't it more fun though to say things in kind of a roundabout way with a smile on your face and kind of condescending? Like, I find it easier to deal with people that way. But I always have done things with a smile on my face and a sense of humor. So that kind of gets me to where I am today.
Well, people will listen to you. I think Mark Levin in a lot of ways is brilliant, though establishment. Mm-hmm. But if you listen to his radio show, he's angry. And
somebody else told me that. Yeah.
Really hard to listen to somebody that's angry because anger doesn't fuel action for very long. You burn out.
Yeah.
And you might give yourself a heart attack along the way.
Well, it's a long fight, and you don't want to get burned out, and so you need to be motivated throughout, and you got to keep yourself aware of small victories to kind of let you know that you got to keep going. It's a daily thing. It's not going to happen like that.
Well, people think we elect one person and it'll fix everything.
I thought the same thing. Didn't you think the same thing though? For a long time,
I kind of did.
Yes, I thought, oh my God. And honestly, I grew up, on the left side of things. I grew up pretty liberal. I thought, man, I grew up in the '90s, in the late '80s. I loved Reagan, even though I didn't understand all of his policies until now. But Bill Clinton, I thought, man, this guy, he's playing the saxophone on Saturday Night Live. He's smoking herb, like he's not inhaling though. But he was that was a president that was doing that. I thought that was pretty cool as a young American. And then thought that after 9/11, we needed Bush in office because I didn't understand how the neocon war machine works. And
wait. I've been told by somebody that I can't use that word.
Oh.
Not by Guillermo.
War machine?
No. Neocon.
Just kidding.
Neocon.
Neoconservative. Okay. All right. So you're not allowed to say that word, is it?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Well, then, I was.
No, go ahead and use it. I just wanted to point that out. I'm going to be in trouble with somebody in my family.
All right. Well, listen, there are people behind big wars, people that make machines of war, and President Bush has big ties to those corporations, as did Dick Cheney, which we all know now. But at the time,
I magically makes a lot of money.
Lots of money. War is a racket, which was a book written by Smedley Butler. It's thin. It's not a hard read. It's real easy, and he laid it out there. And he was a World War I hero. But as far back as then, people were trying to expose the fact that war is for profit, and lots of people make money off of wars. I didn't understand that. Like I said, when I was voting for Bush Jr. there, I didn't understand about that. I wanted some, revenge for 9/11, even though I didn't understand what was going on. But when I really started to understand September 11th, and then started to look into what happened that day, that really started me down a path. And like I said, in 2012, 2013, I started, really researching that. That led me to all sorts of alternative theories about everything from ancient aliens to lizard people living under the crust of the earth, like all kinds of weird things I would get into. But I loved opening up my mind to that kind of stuff. But it magically actually sent me to the John Birch Society, believe it or not.
Well, if we look at since COVID, the number of conspiracy theories about what the government's doing to us, how the government is connected to big tech, how the government is censoring through big tech, how the government's connected to big pharma, the conspiracy theorists seem to have a pretty good track record all of a sudden. Yeah. Alex Jones doesn't seem so out there.
Right? He's a lot of what he has talked about has come to fruition.
Yeah, not all of it, but he's got a pretty good track record.
And what does he always say? He's not a prophet. All he did was read their books. It's all out there. You can research this stuff yourself. And that's people don't want to believe it because they don't want to do that. They just want to believe what's fed to them through the television and the phone now and the tablets and the computers. But you and I know that if you go back and read their books, go back and read the Communist Manifesto. I was telling your group last night, like the 10 pillars of communism. We're there, dude. We are there. And if you'd have just read
except
that book,
we still have the Second Amendment and a middle class.
That's true. That's true.
We are mostly there.
Mostly there.
But we have some things that stand against it.
But the slow roll of communism is it's coming. I mean, it's gathering steam, and with this new generation thinking that politicians like AOC and Rashida Tlaib and them with their socialism, democratic socialism, whatever they've bottled it up as these days.
It's called mental illness.
Mental illness is true. This sort of mental illness is spreading, though. It's spreading throughout our young generation. So we really got
not entirely. I looked at a survey that they've been doing for years. So this survey has been going on since the I think late 70s. And what they're doing is they're looking at high school kids and they're asking them, do you rate yourself as conservative or liberal or very conservative, very liberal, somewhere in between? And for the first time in years, boys have very much turned towards
conservatism,
calling themselves conservative, and the percentage that are calling themselves very conservative is way higher.
Wow.
So the culture is beginning to shift. It's not like there's no hope. Our founding fathers, in somewhere between 3 and 6%, stepped out against the most powerful military force in the world, and they created something unique and special that to this day we're blessed to be here.
I agree. And what we need to do now is keep those conservative high school boys out of out of four-year institutions. Keep them away from these big colleges that'll twist their brains into liberalism.
Not always. Look, Turning Point is growing. Turning Point is growing in California. Now, they're not the most conservative organization, but they're absolutely freedom-based, believe in First Amendment, believe in Second Amendment.
And we need more. We need more like them, though. I mean,
but they're growing.
Good.
Even here in the Central Valley, they're growing. There are more chapters by, I don't remember what a factor of it. I talked to Matt G about this, but I just can't remember. They have more than 3 times as many chapters and members as they had pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Good.
So in a fairly short amount of time.
Yep. It woke a lot of people up, 2020. It did. It woke a lot of people up. So it means that their parents, are influencing them about the tyranny, hopefully. Hopefully that's what's going on. And their parents are influencing them about
sometimes kids are just rebels and they realize that their parents are wrong.
That's true too, yeah. I know. I'd hate to think that as a father of 3 myself. My children are pretty, I wouldn't say obedient, but they still to this point even they listen to what I have to say, and so I would hope that most kids who come from a good home, have good, strong-willed parents teaching them. But you're right. There's a lot of kids who are just coming across this information on their own. So I guess you have Turning Point USA. What's his name? James O'Keefe, influencing them. Ben Shapiro. Lots of these people are getting influenced now by TikTok and Instagram and the internet and Facebook. So I guess that's a good thing, right?
Right. Well, Hodge twins, Tim Pool.
Did you see the Hodge twins when they came through Visalia a couple months ago?
No, I was not able to make it.
They came through last year. Hilarious. Love those guys.
But they appeal to a different young audience because they're as much comedians as they are entertainers, which opens doors. I wish I was funny. Sometimes I'm sarcastic funny. I'm not really generally funny, but we all have different gifts.
We have, Well, yours is a gift that you the gift of knowledge that you're able to, pass on in a gentle way to your listeners, which kind of you ease them into the fact that we're all going to die soon if we don't step up and do something. United Nations is trying to kill us, but you're like bringing it on, like, just let them know in a calm fashion instead of Alex Jones, who's they're all going to kill us. You're the kind of opposite, and so that's why people gravitate towards your show. The people that are turned off by that form of information, they gravitate towards your sensibility.
Well, thank you. I want to point out that you're here representing a particular group. Actually 2. So briefly, I want to talk about one that has my heart. I wear your shirts. I go to your meetings, not all the time, but occasionally. Sure. Sons of Liberty. So just a little bit about who they are and what's going on.
So, right. Well, back in, I think it was 2017, 2018 is when I started to, like I said, I went down some YouTube rabbit holes, and I came across a speech by a man named Art Thompson, and he was talking about the things you're not supposed to know about the founding of our government. And I thought, wow, I'd like to watch this. So, I was up late one night, watched that presentation. It was an hour long, and here was a well-educated man speaking coherently about this conspiracy that it was like a college professor sitting there teaching a class on the Illuminati. And I was blown away. I bought his book. It was a 400-page book. Called To the Victor Go the Myths and Monuments. Tore through that. It tells the story of the first 100 years, the founding of our country, and how it's basically had been trying to be overthrown from 1776 all the way to 1876. So 1776 to 1876, and basically our war to protect the Constitution. I read this book. I loved it. I found out a little bit about the John Birch Society. And at the same time, then about 2019, 2020, I was going through the same thing you were going through. And we started to kind of organize. We started talking about whether or not we would give up our guns, if the government came knocking at our door to collect our weapons. A couple of friends and I were pretty appalled to hear that people that we liked, respected, our good friends and neighbors, we're all having a big barbecue, and no, I protect my family. I mean, if the FBI comes in, guns drawn, I'm going to surrender. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? No, you're not. You don't do that. You die in protection of that Second Amendment. Like we're many people have died, and to protect the Constitution. So you stand up for your rights, whether it means death. And so a couple of friends and I got to talking about this, and we thought, well, wouldn't you like to know who else in our group, in our neighborhood, feels the way that we do and is ready to stand up and do what's necessary in protection of the Constitution? So we formed a little group in my backyard. It was 6 of us. I was started out with just 3 at this first discussion, and that we said get together and bring your number one guy that you know feels exactly the way that you do, like your go-to, like the phone call you have to make when you're in jail. Okay, that guy, bring him, and we'll have a meeting this Monday. We met on a Monday night. It was January of 2021, right after our very own Kings County Congressman David Valadeo voted to. It does give you a little bit of indigestion, right?
Yes,
Just
it
saying
does.
that name, those 2 names together. Anyways, he had voted to impeach President Trump right after. This is right after President Trump basically helped him get into office. He voted to, right after being sworn in, he voted to impeach Trump. So we decided to get together and talk about what we could do about tyranny in our own local government and the rights that were being imposed on us. So we started this group. We started meeting on Mondays because, Monday Night Football was over. And I knew a lot of the guys that we knew weren't going to be watching football. They'd been used to spending 3 to 4 hours out doing whatever. And so it's like, hey, instead of that, come hang out with us, spend 2 to 3 hours talking about freedom and liberty. It was actually just an hour at the time. And then we would stick around for another hour or 2 just talking about stuff. But anyways, it didn't become a formal thing for a few weeks. But now we're up to, I think, over 50 members in and around Kings County. We've got a chapter in Idaho.
Cool.
Which is right near the capital there. They're in Meridian, which is right next to Boise, and they've actually made a lot of noise out there. And we've got a third group, it was our Ladies of Liberty. So it's kind of expanded from 6 guys in my backyard to a group where now we do a big fundraiser a couple times. Well, once a year we do a big dinner, and then we raise money throughout the year through raffles and other events. And we've been able to give back to the community. We've been able to donate to shelters. We've been able to donate to veterans. We've been able to donate to women's shelters. We've been able to do lots with the money we don't keep hardly anything in the coffers. Whatever we do collect, we give back, and we publicly share on social media, on Facebook and whatnot, what we're doing with the money. And so it's something that I'm really proud of.
Well, it connects you to the community, and frankly, doing the right thing, that's just a human value. And conservatives absolutely donate at a higher level, and it's not just money, it's also time.
Time.
And I think a part of it has to do with the fact that they are connected to God, so they realize there's a higher power, and we have an obligation to help humanity.
So let me just tell you that I'm glad you brought God into it, because one of the things that we've done is we've been able to donate money to the Marine Corps League, who puts out wreaths every Christmas. They do wreaths across America, and the impressive avenue of flags at the Armona Cemetery, we've been able to donate some money to them so that they can replace some of those flags that have gotten old and tattered over the years. And they've got a flag for every single veteran that's passed away that's buried at that cemetery. And it's an amazing show of love of liberty and country and God. When you go and see that Memorial Day celebration, that's a big part of what we like to donate to. So
people should take their kids to things like this.
Oh my God, you absolutely should. When they do the parade and they've got the music playing, you see all the services represented with all their flags, and they hang them. It's amazing. And then they've always, unfortunately, every year they've got new inductees. So they need flags for the most recent people who have passed away, and COVID. And after, our veterans passed away at a pretty alarming rate. So
they definitely did.
So it was awesome for us to be able to give back, and see that. It was pretty impressive. So, and then one more thing we've been able to do is last year we finally were able to give scholarships to high school students. We gave away five $500 scholarships to students, and they had to write us an essay and tell us what they loved about the Constitution. And so we're hopefully...
No, that's awesome.
Yes.
Constitutionalist for California, Kingsburg chapter. My chapter, we're very active, but we're not doing some of those things yet.
Well,
but we're getting there.
I'd love to help. I'm here to help. However I can, I'd be more than happy to, because like you said, reaching the young people, yes, they've got Turning Point USA and all these other things to go to, but if you want to be about being local, that's a great way to reach them. FFA, other churches, young people are great at those places. So.
At this point, we're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So we're still on the social media end. I want to say thank you to all of the people watching on social media. Please like, please subscribe. As much as I'd like that, I'd rather hear stories about how you get involved in your community. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. What are you doing? How are you making a difference in everybody's life? Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today I am joined by Jeff Mora. He is the field coordinator for John Birch Society. Now, we've kind of avoided talking about John Birch, but I was letting the people kind of build our way to something good.
Right.
I think it's a great organization, and I happen to be a member.
Yes.
So what do you do? Actually, what is the goal of the John Birch Society?
Less government.
Less government.
Number one, first and foremost, less government. Second, more responsibility. So that means if you're going to have less government, that means we need to take more responsibility by governing ourselves.
So more local control.
Absolutely.
So there might be still some layers of government, but at least your local people are accountable.
Absolutely. We understand at the John Birch Society how important local officials are, and the most important local official is the sheriff of the county, who's that most powerful elected official. So we understand that, which is why we support local police, not a national police.
Like Obama wanted.
Like Hitler had.
Oh, huh. There's a similarity there.
Yeah, well, there's you can't have that. We have to have things local. That way, there's local control, and when it's your friends and neighbors policing you, you're more apt to give them a little more respect. I think when it's your neighbor, that's living next to you, that's a police officer. When they're living amongst you and they're part of your community, I think that's very important.
Well, if you're interested in the role of sheriff, is it Sheriff Mack?
Sheriff Mack. Oh,
he has a little booklet. It's not expensive. You can find it. I recommend everybody read it.
Yeah. He's going around. He's educating sheriffs all over, not just California, all over the country, on the power that they have and the power of the Constitution. And if they just show some backbone and stand behind the Constitution, that it's going to save our country, basically, from a local level out.
Yeah. So what does John Birch Society provide?
Information and education.
Okay.
First and foremost, we want to educate as many of our friends, neighbors as we can about the same thing that I said that Sheriff Mack's doing, the importance of your rights, God-given rights, protected, by the Constitution, that, we are children of Christ. We are children of God, and those rights came to us as soon as we were born into this world. We understand that the Constitution is what separates us from many, many other nations in the world. And like you mentioned, the Second Amendment. Yeah. So we want a return to that smaller government that our founding fathers intended.
Well, but people have to know those rights. So
they do.
There's actually a great video series called "The Constitution is the Solution," put out by who?
By the John Birch Society. And I was going to, I owe you a certificate. I've got a certificate for you to put on your wall as an instructor of Constitution is the Solution, which is a 7-part series which breaks down each part of the Constitution in ways that you can really understand it in layman's terms. I don't know when the last time you read our Constitution was. I read it about a year ago.
Read the whole thing. It's probably been 2 years. Read
amendments here and
there. It's been a couple days.
Unfortunately, a lot of America, it's hard for them to digest those larger words now and the phrasing of those words.
The phrasing is probably the harder thing for people.
Yeah. So this is why the Constitution as a Solution series is so great. Robert Brown is our host. He has been a John Birch Society field coordinator for a couple of decades now, and he lays it out there in plain English how important the Constitution is and how you can live constitutionally. And when you see our politicians acting unconstitutionally, when you see a bill coming through, you can pretty much look at it with fresh eyes and say, "Oh, that's not a constitutional order. We should not vote for that." And if your politician does vote for that, you'll be able to call him out and say, "Why are you voting for this?" Write him a letter, call him, let them know, call them out, basically inform your friends and neighbors that they're voting this way. That's why we have our Freedom Index. We have been rating politicians for a couple of decades now, since the 70s, giving them a grade on how they vote, whether they're voting for the Constitution or against it.
And this is, up till recently, it was just Congress, the House and Senate.
House and Senate, yes. But our team
did something special.
Our team has done something special. They've really went to work, and it's a small team out there in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's not a big group, but we have a ton of research to go through, and what they've started to do is go down to a more localized level to the state assemblymen and the legislators. So we're trying to trickle down as close as we can and give these people grades as well as the congressmen and the senators, so you can really get an idea of who these junior politicians are that are coming up, and see if you want to continue to support them. Which, if they're not supporting the Constitution, then you should not be supporting them. And if you're a Christian, if they're not supporting the Bible and the values of the Ten Commandments, then why are you going to continue to support them? It's plain and simple. This is a battle against good and evil, and you're either on the side of good or you're on the side of evil.
I don't think it's more complicated than that.
It's plain and simple at this point. There's one group that is trying to control you, and they're trying to kill you, and another group that is trying to save what's left of this country that our founding fathers, fought and died for and laid their homes and property and sacred honor on the line for.
It's interesting to me, though, that the left wants to claim that they're for your freedom, yet they want centralization. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's actually communism or it's some other form of authoritarianism. Their answer is always more government, more control. Well, if you live in a society where you don't have options, you don't have free speech, you can't have a gun to protect yourself.
What do you have?
Oh, well, you have some sort of dictatorship, authoritarian form of government, but you also immediately don't have freedom.
Right. Well, what will you do without freedom? Remember?
Yeah.
Braveheart. What will you do without freedom? These 15-minute cities that they're trying to build. I think they're trying to put one in over near Kern County, near Bakersfield.
Yeah, they're called concentration camps.
They are big concentration camps. When you're not allowed to leave your area without a paper or a passport, that is not freedom. I don't care how many drones bring you what supplies you need and how convenient everything is moving from place to place and all the technology that they're going to infuse in this. That is just polishing a piece of feces is what it is. It's the same thing. It's a polished up, it's Auschwitz with granite countertops and Wi-Fi. It is still a concentration camp. It is still a prison. And I think that the more that you really, really look into how important your freedoms are, the more you should just read the Constitution again. Read the Bill of Rights. Let it sink in that is the only thing standing between us and that which we have just described.
Not just that. We are the only thing standing between freedom and what the rest of the world, I believe, will happen, because most of them, they're not constitutional republics. They're democracies. Democracies move towards authoritarianism.
Yes.
Because
it's mob rule.
Yeah.
It's mob rule is what it is. And we've seen ever since the cancel culture started to pop up on social media how mob rule works, right? How many celebrities that you liked and laughed at and followed at the time were all of a sudden canceled because they made a bad joke back in 2009. Just absurd behavior, and that just shows you how mob rule works. Would you want that kind of system running our government?
Well, but in Canada they do. They have a guy that ran around in blackface continually all through college, and yet the woke mob didn't cancel him. I'm not sure quite how that worked out.
Yeah.
But the woke mob doesn't seem to be fair.
When you control most of the media, I guess, the woke mob still has to follow their marching orders.
Is that it?
They are a mob, and so, he has a lot of control there as one of the elites of this world. Yeah, he goes to Bilderberg. He's part of the club, as George Carlin described, that we are not in.
That group that says you'll be happy and own nothing.
You'll own nothing and be happy, and you'll eat bugs.
Yeah.
That's Klaus Schwab.
But I'm pretty sure they won't be eating bugs.
No, they won't be eating bugs. We will be eating bugs. They will be enjoying whatever they want. It's the haves and the have-nots.
But that's we kind of got rid of that system in most places in the world. When we used to have kings and queens?
Yeah.
And they want to go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a crazy thought. They want to go back. They want to take us. They talk about being progressive, but their solution is to move back to royalty.
They have a thought in their mind of some sort of a dystopian Star Trek society that's on the future for us. Even though history has shown that every time it has been tried, socialism turns into communism. You can't have one without the other, and that leads to destruction of countries. Look at every single country that has tried it, and now.
But the right people weren't in charge. That's always their argument. The right people weren't in charge.
Those that do
we
not,
can't let evidence get in the way of the fact that the right people weren't in charge, and the new people are going to lead us to the promised land. Mm-hmm. Do you buy that?
No.
Can you name one country that is
one.
truly socialist, communist?
Venezuela had one of the richest.
No, not one of the richest. It was the richest per capita country in South America by far, and they destroyed it.
Yeah. So we have a great video that's still, I believe, on YouTube. It's on Rumble as well. But if you search out jbs.org, we have a great video called "The Overview of America." It's 29 minutes long, and it is fabulous because it really puts it out in plain English with graphs and colors and everything, and describes where our country is and why we got this way and where we are as the John Birch Society, right in the middle where the Constitution should be. Some government, some control of someone elected, but not total control of government, and no control of government either, which is complete anarchy. You can't have that either. When you look at the political spectrum, the John Birch Society is right in the middle.
Yeah.
We're the ones protecting the Constitution. We're the ones who want to make sure that our elected officials follow the Constitution. That's what they swear to. They don't swear to uphold and protect you or me. They swear to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and that's exactly what the John Birch Society is trying to hold them account for.
I don't see how that can possibly be right. How could Nancy Pelosi even know what the Constitution is? And
she probably shreds it up. And what is that?
And AOC, I'm not sure that she can read.
She could probably read a cocktail menu.
Probably. It's just bad. The opposition that is taken seriously.
Yeah.
How can you be a gibbering fool and yet be taken seriously? And I think the answer to that is because people that are conservative and people that are liberal process and think very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're strongly on the left, I think that most of them, they're not working from a logical position. They're working from emotion.
Right. Yep.
And whoever's in the lead, that elite that tells them what they need to think, well, then they fight from that emotion because they're told that the enemy is a racist.
Mm-hmm.
They're told that the enemy wants to take all their rights. They want to put them back in chains. We can find several prominent Democrats that have said Republicans want to put you back in chains.
Right.
Yet the real racists are people like Joe Biden, who says, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
look what he did to black men with the crime bill. And remember when he went on TV talking about a little piece of crack like this will get you life or 20 years. His son is now on crack cocaine. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
How many black people he locked up?
Yep. He took away their livelihood, and yet he claims that he owes them because of the color of their skin. He owns their thoughts. He owns their vote. I should never be able to tell how you're going to vote. I might be able to tell by the color of your skin. I might have some clues with how you're dressed, to be fair. But I wouldn't know just because of the color of your skin how you're going to vote. And by the way, you should be able to dress however you want and vote however you want, even if you're on the left and I think you're wrong, because I believe in freedom.
Sure, absolutely. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's have a talk about it. But eventually, you're going to have to be confronted with the logic, and you're going to have to take emotion out of it. And that's hard. It's hard for them to do with the cognitive dissonance. It's hard to break through to that.
You could also define that as Trump derangement syndrome. That's the best example of the cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you see how he was praised by black people in the 1980s, 1990s, the 2000s even, people wanted to be like Donald Trump. He was praised by Jesse Jackson. He was
Al Sharpton even.
Al Sharpton. I've seen him in photos with
all the prominent rappers of the time.
All of them. All want to be like Donald Trump.
Well,
there were songs written about him. I mean, he was.
They wanted to be successful. They wanted to capture the American dream.
Yep. Rags to riches.
Yep.
So, isn't it funny how a little bit of propaganda levied against someone could really change the whole country's opinion? Well, almost the whole country for a while.
Yes, but it's starting to shift. Now there's been a couple rappers that were on the left that
Waka Flocka Flame just came out and said that he's going to vote for President Trump. That's awesome.
I know.
We need more people like that to step up and just not have not be scared to say what they think. I mean, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. That was a moment of hope because it begins to shift the culture.
Yeah.
Even if he only brings 1,000 people with him.
Well,
at least those people might be willing to speak up and say what rather than, do we really have free speech if you're afraid to say what you think?
Yeah.
Now, the solution to free speech, if there's misinformation, is more free speech, not censorship.
I wholeheartedly agree. I was listening to, I think it was Dan Bongino saying that he didn't want any of these X accounts or Instagram accounts censored on either side. He said, let them show themselves to the world. Let these people who are out there protesting pro-Palestinian, protests outside of colleges, don't freeze their accounts. Let them be shown. Mm-hmm. That way they can be held accountable.
Absolutely. No, that's a huge deal. Getting back to the John Birch Society, one of the things that I really appreciate is when I go to the website, it kind of doesn't matter what it is. Mm-hmm. If it is in the conservative realm, you have resources, not just a few.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the variety of things there and what's it cost for a membership?
Sure. The membership, for a digital membership, it starts at $49 a year, and you get 2 issues of the New American Magazine digitally in your email. If you'd like the actual hard copy, $87 a year for a single, $99 a year for you and your spouse. But again, the hard copy of the New American Magazine is I find it to be the most impressive piece of publication out there. We've have generals quoted as calling it an instruction manual for an intelligence brief is what he calls it, an intelligence brief. So anyways, getting that twice a month is worth the price right there. But on top of that, we have so many free resources and available on our website. And then through our shop JBS, we have pamphlets, we have brochures, we have books, we have videos, all easily available for you to print out from your home. Some of these articles, some of these items, some of these things you can order. We make them as cheap as we possibly can. I should rephrase that. We make them as inexpensive as we can, but they're good quality, like brochures, Slim Jims, pamphlets. We produce them all there in Appleton, Wisconsin. They ship them out all over the world, and we make those resources available. And like you said, if you have thought about it, if it matters to conservatives, chances are we have written a pamphlet about it, which is easily, something you can easily disperse to your friends and neighbors. We have resources like videos for you to watch, educational, like learning materials, like we said. The Constitution is the Solution is a fabulous series that just helps you learn about the Constitution. All of those are available at really the price of a cup of Starbucks, right, a day. If you cut out a couple of those. I don't know what your weekly routine is if you're a Starbucks person, but if you do the math, a couple of those a week, if you save on that, that's the cost of all of this information.
Well, inexpensive Starbucks.
Yeah.
If you also got a cookie or something.
Right. Extra venti, waka, flocka, chewbacca, cappuccino, cookie. I don't know. I don't drink there, but I get my coffee from gas stations mostly.
We're going to go ahead and take our last break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So, when we come back, I want to focus on hope and solutions. I wanted to start with the moving towards a nationalist populist movement in all over Europe. And then I wanted to end with fixing it from the ground up. So I think the Power of 500 could be applied a bit there.
Okay.
All right, let's come back.
Like
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I am joined by Jeff Mora, field coordinator. So that basically means for the Central Valley, you're the guy if they want to know about John Birch.
Yeah, so I was when I started the Sons of Liberty, we brought in a John Birch Society field coordinator. And
Joe Pizzarelli?
Panzarello. Joe Panzarello. We brought him in. He was the field coordinator at the time, and we brought him in to speak at a dinner that we had thrown, a fundraiser. And he did a fantastic job, knocked everybody dead with his speech, talked about the UN, talked about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, our roles as citizens, and how we can stand up. And it was fantastic. So we thanked him, and that's when he asked me to be a chapter leader and start a John Birch Society chapter. And I thought, okay, yeah, I never thought that I could do that. Like I didn't know that was possible for me to just start my own chapter. And he's like, oh yeah, no, you can. He's like, I'm in charge of that. And so as a field coordinator, he allowed me to start a chapter for the John Birch Society. I of course enlisted all my Sons of Liberty brethren into the mix, and then at the same time. That happened, I learned more and more about the conspiracy and the United Nations. One of our oldest programs is Get the U.S. Out of the UN. I learned a lot more about the history of that organization, as well as secret societies and like I said, the Bilderberg Group and all that. So when Joe Panzarello stepped aside because life happens, he had to take a step away from the freedom movement for a little bit, because you know what? Burnout does happen. Mm-hmm. The John Birch Society asked me to step in and take his place. And at first I thought, I can't take on another job. I can't do it. I've got too many. And they said, no, we'd really like you to do this. And they explained what the position was. And it's traveling Central California from here over in the valley all the way up to Modesto, as far and then as far west as the Monterey and down through Santa Barbara, and as far south as northern Los Angeles, actually. That's Joe Panzarello's neck of the woods down there. And so he was from the Southlands coming up here. I'm from the Northern Lands heading down there. I don't understand the LA freeways. I've gotten stuck in so many traffic jams. It's insane. But I'm in charge of some of that northern Los Angeles area, as well as the Central Valley and the Central Coast. And my job, which was his job, is to go around and set up chapters, find leaders, find the A-team, the people that are go-getters, the people that want to stand up and get involved in their local government, their local community, who want to hold local politicians and elected officials from their state and federal government accountable. People that want to be involved, I want to talk to them. I want to set up chapters all over so that we can create something we call the Power of 500.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you before we jump into that one. Briefly, I want to point out that there is a moment of hope if we look around the world.
Sure.
All of these democracies, not all, a large number of them in Europe are shifting towards a nationalist populace. There were just big wins in Germany. there's a nationalist populist party in Eastern Germany, but they've now just had some wins in Western Germany. The Greens' hold on Germany is weakening. France, it looks like Le Pen is going to win the next election and be their new prime minister, and she's center right. That happened in Spain. Italy with Meloni.
I mean, she's incredible, isn't she?
Yep.
Yeah.
So there are moments of hope. The globalist grip is lessening. So I want people to understand that there's actually a lot more to say on this, but I don't want to cut off too much time from the power of 500.
Well,
because that is another message of hope.
Yes.
Because we have to fix this from the bottom up.
And
this is an approach.
That's how they're doing it over there, from the bottom up. You know, they're fixing their elections over there. You know, they're able to put people in power that are supposed to be the rightful elected, you know, people. And when you see that happening worldwide, it does give you hope. When I saw people taking to the streets in France and even in China back in 2020 before March, let's not forget that there were thousands of people rising up against the communist government there in China. But when you see that, it's impressive. It does give you hope. And when you talk about hope on a local level, we try to concentrate on the power of 500, we call it. And this is a product. This is a project that they started back quite a few years ago now, and it deals with 110 and 6, 100 people, 100 households that you can personally influence, taking literature, a brochure, Freedom Index, scorecard.
It'd be better if you talked to them rather than just dropped it off.
Sure. But if you're not that kind of person, if you're not that kind of a door knocker, you know, if you just leave that literature and come back a few months later and leave another piece of literature, eventually, you know, hopefully that would lead to, you know, that person finding their way to the John Birch Society, or more importantly, to freedom, because a lot of the literature that we put out is not like. It's all for your rights. It's all things that you should understand as an American about what your government is doing to you, how your rights are being infringed. So hopefully something like that will get through. And that's the power of you influencing 100 homes in your neighborhood. And then if there's 10 influencers, 10 people that you can call upon that are business owners, you know, leaders, radio hosts,
somehow connected to their community.
People who are connected. Who knows the influence that they have? But those 6 people could possibly influence. Those 10 people could possibly influence thousands.
Right.
You know?
And I would hope we would add pastors to that list.
And pastors. Like I just met Pastor Jesse Alvarez.
He is awesome.
Have you had him on your show?
I have not. We have not been able to work it out yet, but it's coming.
Okay, good, because he's a firecracker. That guy. I went and prayed with him at his church last Sunday. He's an amazing man. I can't wait for you to have him on his show. He's doing some great things out there. But yes, pastors have such an influence on their churches and their people that you absolutely should include them in your list of people to influence with rights. And then there's 6. And as you come across all these people that you're influencing, you'll hopefully come across 6, and it may be more, but 6 people that are go-getters that you want to call actual prospects for leadership. The A team. Those ones are going to be like Pastor Jesse's receptionist, assistant. She is a go-getter also. Lynn Petersdorf, I think you'll come in contact with her.
I know Lynn.
Lynn is just a go-getter. Just a team like that. People that are connected, people that have influence, and people that want to get involved. That's your A team. So that's the 6. If you do that, 100 people, 100 households you can influence, 10 influencers, and 6 A team members, prospects. Do that, and you can create a group of 500 people that you have influenced in your local community, more importantly, your congressional district. If you do that, 500 people can overturn a congressional district in any district in the
if they're willing to work. That's the key thing.
If they're
willing to get involved, and even if it's just make a few phone calls or distribute a little bit of literature or, you know, talk to your friends and family.
Yeah.
You do could have influence with your friends and family.
You've got a circle. You've got friends on social media. You share memes with text messages, group messages. Those are your people. Those are the people that you influence. That's your circle. Bring them together and fight freedom together.
Absolutely.
Fight for freedom. I'm sorry. Fight tyranny. Fight for freedom.
Well, we are winding down, so I would encourage people to go to jbs.org and find out more about this organization. Jeff, I thank you for this time. This is the Constitutionalist here on
Pleasure to be here.
1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. jbs.org,
TheNewAmerican.com.
thenewamerican.com.
Yeah. So thenewamerican.com, you should go there and get all your daily stories. We have some great articles printed out daily that you can see and check out. And read.
And if nothing else, you can get on their email list.
Yes.
They're willing to share the email list.
They are
even if
sharing these articles. So, yes, thenewamerican.com. Go there and sign up for their email list, and you'll get great information every single day in your email.
So there's the person that is, say you don't have any money, you're somebody that just doesn't, and you're struggling. You can still get on their email list, even if you couldn't afford to join, and that's a step.
You can get on their email list, and you can share that information.
Yeah.
Share those articles. Send them out to your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Call your local congressman. Send him an email or her.
Well, with freedom comes responsibility, and I appreciate you